Hey friends, today we're sewing a classic t-shirt. And in this video you will be able to see every single step in real time, so you can relax and sew along. You will also find the sewing pattern from size XXS to 3XL on my website. Of course with a complete size chart. The link is in the video description down below, and for everyone who is watching this video gets 25% off with the code t-shirt. You can also get the premium t-shirt fabric that I'm using in this tutorial on my website. 290 grams per square meter, 100% cotton in the color off-white. The pattern and fabric are also available as a combo kit. And the product description lists all the countries that we are shipping to. So if you would like to support my work, feel free to stop by. If you don't want to miss the next sewing tutorials, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and if you like the shirt, I'm very happy about every thumbs up. In this tutorial I will be using my normal sewing machine, the Singer HD 6335M, but also my overlock from Yuki, the MO50EN. If you only have a normal sewing machine, no problem at all. I will explain everything within this framework, and all the parts that I'm sewing with the overlock are just a nice extra. But what do we actually need to sew the t-shirt? Approximately 1 meter of jersey fabric, depending on the size and width of the fabric of course. With the jersey fabric I offer, 1 meter is sufficient, because the width of the fabric roll is 1 meter and 95 centimeters. For the cuff fabric we just need 10 centimeters, depending on the width of the fabric tube of course. We need a suitable t-shirt pattern, ideally sewing needles that are suitable for a t-shirt, i.e. universal, jersey or stretch needles, white thread or any other colors you like of course, a normal and an edge stitch presser foot, an iron, scissors, a seam ripper, a measuring tape, tailor's chalk or a colored pencil. Alright friends, before we start with the real cutout for the parts for our t-shirt, I'm gonna show you one time how to create the pattern parts out of the paper pattern that is available on my website. Because every couple weeks someone is sending me a DM and asks, I don't know how to arrange the paper pages appropriately, and probably most of you, I would guess 99%, are able to glue together and cut out all the necessary pattern parts by themselves. But if you need an explanation, here is the desired video material. So as you can see, I'm just aligning the paper pages that will form, for this example, the front part of our t-shirt. And as you can see, you always got in the middle of those pages, at the edges, those half stars, and around the paper page is a full rectangle. And in just a couple of moments we're gonna start by cutting out at the edges of the rectangle. And by that it's possible, after you cut out all the rectangle parts, the outside, so we are not cutting directly at the pattern piece silhouette, just at the outside. It's really simple. Just cut out the rectangle, so you will have those small thin paper strips at the end. And of course the pattern is also available as an A0 variant. So if you got a printer that can print such big pattern files, this is for you. Or you can go into a print shop and print it out there. This saves a lot of paper, but I know most people got a normal printer at home, so this pattern is available for those many people in form of those paper pages in newsletter and A4 of course. And now you can see we did cut out all rectangle parts, and now it's really simple. Just take some sellotape and align the pages at the edges. And of course you can check if a nice little star is being created as well. And yeah, from now on you can continue watching how this front part of the shirt pattern piece is being glued together. And after that, we're gonna start the real project. And of course, when we finished cutting out all our pattern parts, we got our sleeve pattern piece, our front and back piece for the shirt, the collar, and the strip to clean up the neckline at the end. So those are all the parts that you need to sew a t-shirt. It's not a lot, so we can start by cutting out the real fabric pieces. Alright, so let's start with the real cutout. We are gonna start with the back piece for the t-shirt. And yeah, first of all, of course, we gotta lay out our fabric and we're gonna pay attention to the weaving direction. So this has to be vertical as we are putting our pattern piece also vertical. Aligning with the weaving direction, you can also see this long, thin arrow on the pattern piece. This shows you how to lay the pattern piece to the weave direction of the fabric that you're using. And you can also see on the right side of the pattern piece that there's the name fold line. And as well, if you're working with a fabric that has very similar left and right fabric sides, so right is always the outside of the garment, or at the end the outside fabric side, and the left side is the one that has to lay on the inside at the end. So mark your side, mark your left side. I would strongly recommend this. And yeah, as you can see, you got the arrow, so pay attention to the weaving direction. This is very important. So the fit of the shirt is very nice at the end. And yeah, as I said, we only got a half pattern piece because we got the fold line on the pattern piece. So now we want to create the fold. So we're folding our fabric, and of course we want to work very efficiently, so we use the fabric in the best way possible. So we align the pattern piece on the fold. Of course, we got to look out that we got enough fabric. So we gotta give it a little more space, and then we can simply align the pattern piece on the fold, and we will pin it in place with pins. The same procedure is also done for the front part of the shirt. When we want to cut out our arm sleeves, we gotta pay attention to two things. Of course, we gotta make sure that we're also laying our arm sleeves with the right direction to the weave direction, and we of course got the arrow that is showing us how to do that. And the second thing is that the arm sleeves are not symmetrical on both sides, or at the top edge that is curved. You can see on the left side 2 lines and on the right side 1 line. Those lines are there so you can easily align the sleeve to the front and back part of the shirt. So yeah, mark those lines so you can easily align the sleeve. In the next couple of moments, when we arrive, of course, at the moment when we start to fix the sleeves to our shirt. And it's very important that we once lay the pattern piece with all the graphics showing to us, so you can see those on those side. And for the second sleeve, you want to turn the pattern piece around so you can just see the white clean side of the pattern piece, and that's how you will cut out your arm sleeves. This is very important. As I said, those arm sleeves are not symmetrical and we want that everything is matching well, and this is how you make sure that you get one sleeve for the right, or one right arm sleeve and one matching left arm sleeve. For the collar, it's very easy. Just take your pattern piece and lay it onto the calf fabric. Of course, now you gotta pay attention to the stretch direction, which is horizontally. Yeah, so align the pattern piece like that. And yeah, I'm cutting out 2 collars, which is very unimportant for this project as we only got 1 pattern piece, but the cuff fabric is a tube, so I'm just gonna cut out 2 collar pieces if I want to sew another shirt. Then I already got the collar, so yeah, we only just need 1 collar strip. So now grab your front and the back piece for the shirt, and we gotta fold them open and also mark the lines yeah, that are on the armholes, so we will be able to align our sleeves perfectly in just a couple of moments. Yeah, I hope you marked all your pattern pieces left sides, because, or this is just a preference, I'm always marking the armhole lines on my right side, but as I said, pay attention which is your right and left fabric side. So I'm always doing my left marking on the bottom of pattern or of fabric pieces. So And when we are finished with marking the lines on our front and back piece, we are gonna lay out our front piece of the shirt with the right side showing to us. And now we want to lay our back piece of the shirt with the right side on the right side of the front piece. So right sides on right side. And then we will fix the shoulder parts with clips, as those are the first segments that we will sew together. So now we're at the sewing machine. As you can see, we got our normal presser foot, and now I'm going to tell you the biggest game changer when sewing shirts, long sleeves, and also hoodies and sweatshirts. Use a stretch stitch. My sewing machine, the Singer Heavy Denim, has such a stretch stitch function. You can just look this up in your instruction manual if your sewing machine has this type of stitch, because it's a straight stretch stitch. And yeah, this is the whole game changer. Don't sew, or I would not recommend sewing a shirt with a normal straight stitch, as this would probably rip apart under any pressure. So yeah, I'm just going to show you on an example fabric piece. This is any denim. How this straight stitch just works, because the fabric is moved back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And just like that, the machine is slowly working its way up front. Like this is the straight stretch stitch. This is the whole game changer. Because in the past, when I started sewing, I just used a straight stitch. Of course, it's possible, but I would not recommend it, because this seams will tear open, rip apart. When you raise your arm, or if you're doing sports in your shirt. But with this stitch type, it's not gonna happen. You always got to be a little bit careful when you start to sew with this straight stretch stitch, because sometimes the fabric is like being eaten up by the machine. And so always keep in mind to pay attention at the start. You can lock the seam at the start, but you will also see now when this project continues, this is not even necessary, as the straight stretch stitch starts with back and forth stitching anyways, so you don't have to do that. And if the machine struggles a bit, you can just lift up the presser foot and then start your seam. What's always also a very important information, we are sewing with a seam allowance of 1 centimeter. So I'm just sewing with the edge, or with the right edge of the presser foot on the both fabric layer edges, and this equals like a seam allowance of 1 centimeter, because the needle position is in the middle. And there we finished our first shoulder seam, and we're just going to finish our second seam. When we sewed our shoulder parts together, yeah, we want to overlock or clean up those seam allowances. You don't have to do that if you don't have an overlock machine. You can simply leave it like that, or you can also look in your instruction manual of your sewing machine which kind of overlock stretches your machine has, and then yeah, clean up those edges in that way. I'm also thinking of doing a video on the best overlock type stitches or finishes if you only have a normal sewing machine video. So I'm gonna do that in the future. Yeah, but for now I'm just gonna use my overlock machine to clean up those edges. And now, as we're aiming for a very professional t-shirt look, we are gonna iron our shoulder seams in the direction of the back part of the shirt. I once saw this method in a tutorial, and there it was said that this is important for the fit in the end of the shirt. Maybe it's just 0.5%, or it makes the shirt just a tiny bit better, but we are just going to do that. As usual, I would recommend you to not skip any ironing parts when you're sewing a type of garment. Yeah, so we're just going to do this. Now we are already at the part where we want to fix our sleeve to our armhole, and yeah, hopefully you did all your markings, as this is now gonna be very easy with those markings. Yeah, so keep in mind that we want to attach the arm sleeve, of course, right sides facing. And I'm always starting on the one corner of the armhole and then use a couple of clips to secure the fabric edges, and then switch to the other side and start from there, and then work my way up to the middle part of the sleeve. And now, of course, we want to sew on our sleeves, of course, with the straight stretch stitch. And again, we're sewing edge to edge with the presser foot to the edges of the fabric layers. Yeah, just do this for both arm sleeves. And for the professional finish, we will overlock those seams as well. When we cleaned up our seam allowances, we want to lay our shirt right sides facing to us, in front of us, and then we are just gonna flip over the back shirt side onto the front side, and then we already can see the silhouette of our shirt coming together. Of course, pay attention because now we want to fix the outer segments together, that at the armhole seams that we have just sewn, that you align the seams on top of each other, and you can fold the overlocked seam allowance down. And now we want to close our outer segments. You're now in another position of the camera. I just thought now it's better to see a more total wide view of the sewing process, because nothing changes. We are using the straight stretch stitch and we're sewing edge to edge with the presser foot on our fabric layers. And of course, we're also gonna clean up our outer segment seam allowances. Now we want to create our beautiful hems of the shirt. Yeah, at the bottom of the shirt, and of course our two arm sleeve openings. And yeah, we will do this in the same manner. So you can just copy this method for all the openings and hems of the shirt. So we're just gonna take roughly 1 centimeter and fold it inwards, because we will create a strip. And then, yeah, of course, we're gonna fold it in another time. So we get our 2 centimeter wide strip. And yeah, the seam allowance is being folded in the side seam allowance, the overlock one, is being folded in the direction of the back piece of the shirt. That's just as a reminder. And yeah, we're now going to do this all the way around of the hem of the shirt. This takes a while, this takes a while, but it's worth it. And yeah, we're going to use our clips. You can of course also use pins if you prefer that. But for this strip height of around 2 centimeters, you can use clips. Everything above that, if you want to do a 3 or 4 centimeter tall hem, of course you have to use pins to pin it in place. But now just create this strip evenly around your hem and your arm sleeve openings. And after that, we are gonna come back to the ironing board. Back at the ironing board, you can see that I'm using such a very narrow one, which is for arm sleeves. I would strongly recommend you, if you're sewing regularly, that you're getting such a ironing board. Yeah, and the most important part, you have to iron your hems. This is like deciding if your t-shirt is going to turn out nicely, because by pressing this, this strip will stay flat and stay in place, and will not bulk or get another form after washing as well. So take this part of ironing very, very seriously. Don't rush it. Look that the strip is even, and yeah, as I said, this depends if your shirt is gonna look well at the end. And all of our hems we also wanna sew with the straight stretch stitch. Now we are gonna position our needle as far left as it's possible, because we will sew now with the left edge of the presser foot on the left edge of the strip. And yeah, we gotta make sure that everything is running without any problems. And if this is the case, we can start sewing or top stitching our hem strip. When we finished our hems, we can continue with the collar of the shirt. For that, we will have our strip in front of us. Yeah, of course, we marked our left side of the collar piece because now we want to fold both ends, right sides together, and sew them together using the stretch stitch. When we did this, we're gonna fold the seam allowances to the right and left side, and now we fold our collar left sides together. So now only the beautiful right sides of the fabric are visible, and we're gonna fix the seams on top of each other, and then we will divide the collar into 4 equal sections. And because the collar is a vital part, or the most vital part for a shirt, we also gonna divide the collar circumference, or the, yeah, like the whole neck rounding of the shirt into 4 equal sections. And to get a perfect result, I'm always just using my measuring tape, and I'm pinning it, or with clips I'm fixing it around the collar, or the neck rounding, however you want to call it. And when we are finished with that, we want to look out for the total circumference, and this is roughly 58 to 59 centimeters. So we got to divide this by 4. So we got to make our clip markings every 14.5 centimeters. And now a little professional tip, which I also picked up by learning with many other tutorials throughout the last years. The part of the collar where you aligned the seams of top of each other, where we sewed the ends together, this part, or this position is fixed at the neck, or at the neckline, at the neck part, and it's positioned not in the middle of the neckline, but you can decide if you want to position it in the middle of the right half of the neckline or in the middle of the left half of the neckline. And so this is your starting point. And from this starting point, you're just gonna hop by 14.5 centimeters around and fix there always your quarters or your quarter points of your collar. So now we want to sew on the collar to our neckline, and we're gonna start directly before the part of the collar where we sewed both ends together, so the point where we see the seam. And of course the opening of the collar is to the right side, and we're sewing with the presser foot edge to edge on all our fabric layers. And now what's really important, why are we even using a stretchy fabric for the collar? Because the circumference of the neckline is bigger than the one of the collar. So we gotta stretch everything to like a normal length together. So don't overstretch it, but also don't understretch it, because then the fabric of the neckline is collecting itself, and in the end you don't have enough collar to sew onto the neckline. This is very difficult. If you're doing this for the first time, this is probably very challenging, as you gotta develop a feeling on how to, or like on how far to stretch the collar. But for this reason, we divided the collar and neckline in 4 equal sections. So yeah, so to make it easier for you to sew every section in the perfect stretched manner, so you can always check, those are like your checkpoints, your clips, when all the fabric like is being used for the section and you don't have anything of the neckline or too much of the collar left, then you know, okay, I'm on a good way. Yeah, but keep in mind to stretch everything as much as it's needed. But I would presume this just takes a lot of time and practice. But yeah, with the clips, I would say this is the perfect way to learn in the beginning. And I'm still using this method because you can also, if you got the perfect feeling, sew this whole collar on without any clips. But I think this is a pro level, which is quite hard to reach, to get like the feeling of a 60 centimeter circumference of a neckline and to stretch a collar perfectly all the way around of 60 centimeters. This is quite hard, so we're just gonna use this method. Of course, we want to clean up the seam allowance of the neckline. So we're using, once again, our overlock. And this is the last part where we need our overlock machine. The shirt could be finished by now, so you could end here. But for all of you that want to have a clean, professional look for the neck passage on the inside, yeah, this is for you. So for that we got our fabric strip, where we also, of course, marked our left side so that we do not make any mistakes. This strip is being placed on the side where we sewed on the collar at the position of the seam of the shoulder seams on the one side. Yeah, and it ends on the other shoulder seam. Then on both sides, we want to fold in like 1/2 centimeter. And now we will sew on this strip from the other side exactly on the seam where we just sewed on our collar. Exactly on that seam. This is very important. So we sewed on our strip and we want to fold this strip down because now we will top stitch with the edge stitch foot our collar. Yeah, for that we're of course changing the presser foot. And yeah, this metal element is for orientation or like gliding at the side of the fabric. And the stitch length we are using is 4, and we're going to start at the one end where we attached the strip or like nearby. And what's really important, that you of course keep in mind that the strip on the downside is folded down. And what's also really important, now we are using not a stretch stitch, we're just using a normal straight stitch with a stitch length 4, as I said before. And yeah, you can see, yeah, keep in mind that the strip is being folded down all the time. And when you're doing this top stitch around the collar, this is again rather a case of practice experience, because you gotta stretch the whole neckline a tiny bit, stretch it to normal length as you did when you sewed on the collar. So yeah, the seam won't rip apart or won't tear up when you wear the shirt. Because if you wouldn't stretch it, then there's a higher risk that the seam will maybe rip open when you put your head through the neckline. Now that we finished our top stitch, we can see that on the inside strip for the neckline, we got our first seam, but we want a second seam, and yeah, so that we have a beautiful two-seam finish. And yeah, this part is a bit challenging because now we're going to use another small element of the edge stitch foot, which I will show you in a couple of moments. So we're not going to use the black metal orientation piece, but the one in the middle, a little silver metal element in the middle of the sewing foot. And with this little silver element, we will glide directly at the edge of the seam allowance. So yeah, there you can see the metal element that we're gliding with at the edge of the seam allowance. When we are finished with that part, we're just going to use our pair of scissors to clean up the fabric edge. And this was the last sewing step. So now what's only left is that we turn our shirt right side out. So then let's have a look. If you liked the video, then I'm definitely happy about every thumbs up. Feel free to let me know in the comments how you liked the video, and if you got any suggestions or questions, please let me know. See you in the next video. Until then, have fun sewing!